This is what I'm talking about. Lead 2, baby, Lead 2. Lead 2 is just, what can I say? It is my favorite Led Zeppelin studio album. Obviously, my favorite, like, of Led in general is, like, 68 to 73 bootlegs, but if it has to come to, like, studio album rankings, Lead 2, definitely my favorite of, Zeppelin's discography of, studio albums. It's, like, the perfect, quintessential, classic Led Zeppelin studio album. Lead 2 is, like, the perfect golden age of, like, hard rock. It is so good. It is, like, the classic golden age of hard rock album. For me, my two all-time favorite bands are the Beatles and Led Zeppelin. There's, like, nothing better. Nothing better. And it's just so good. Like, sometimes I say it's not a perfect album, because sometimes I go back and forth with, Living, Loving, Made, but it's a perfect album. It's just so good. Like, Lead 1 is great, but Lead 2 is really the blueprint for a classic Zepp album. So good. So good. From top to bottom. And, the track listing's great, too. Did you know that, apparently Pam DeBear actually, picked the track listing for Lead 2. I don't know if that's entirely true, but that's what she claims. You never know. Groupies tend to get left out of stories a lot. They're just the groupies. They don't really get the dues that they get whenever they do something inspiring to said rock star. Anyways, Lead 2. The thing about Lead 2 also, apart from it being unabashedly horny, is, it's home to, like, two of the greatest rock and roll love songs of all time. Obviously, they were written by Robert. Who else would write them? These were actually his, foray into really getting down to serious songwriting, and they are What Is and What Should Never Be, and, Thank You. And, like, those songs are so good. They are, like, some of the most beautiful, poetic, tender, and really, like, almost, especially with What Is and What Should Never Be, kind of real, if that makes sense. I could write a whole essay on it, but they just feel so timeless and feel so right, if that makes sense. It sounds weird, and, just, there's something very human about them. Like, a lot of love songs have a formula, especially with, like, rock love songs and, like, you know, the rock love ballads, but, like, these feel so different than the formula, which the formula of writing a good, unabashed rock love ballad is great, but these just feel like they have a very specific human touch. It just feels very, like, nuanced, if that makes sense, even though it's not nuanced, because it was written in the 70s. What's crazy is that, Thank You and What Is and What Should Never Be being on the same album is that you wouldn't expect it to be written about two different women in Robert's life. Like, Thank You is obviously, everybody knows it's about his wife, but then What Is and What Should Never Be has always been kind of ambiguous, because I guess they can't entirely say the truth sometimes. It's been said, but it's been said in a very, like, hush-hush manner. It's about his sister-in-law, like, his wife's sister, who he's kind of well known of having an affair with. It's a very odd love triangle that I don't even know much about, even though I know a lot about Zeppelin that I should not know about Led Zeppelin. But it's just kind of weird to have, like, an extremely beautiful, heartfelt love song about your wife, but then, like, yeah, like, one or two tracks before it, a song about how you want to run off with your wife's sister. It's kind of weird, but, you know, with Robert, he's so awesome. He is, like, my idol, just so you know, but, like, I know for every smart thing he says, and for every nuanced thing he says, and for every awesome thing he does, he's also full of and that's, like, the proof. But those songs are just amazing if you kind of, like, separate all of the drama from it. My God, they are absolute beautiful songs. Like, that's just peak. Like, I call it, like, the Robert Plant love song, and it's called the Robert Plant love song for a reason. It's so quintessentially him. He is my idol. Like, you ever see, like, The Song Remains the Same? Yeah, the Led Zeppelin, like, the first big, officially released Led Zeppelin concert film at Madison Square Garden. It was 2 nights there, and, and it was in a lot of development hell. But like, whew, like how do I put it? So when the song remains the same, they have the performance of the Rain song, which the song remains the same version of the Rain song is like my all-time favorite Zepp song. It is amazing. Obviously, it's gonna sound a little bit different than what you hear in the Garden Tapes bootleg, but like that version with some tweaking and the overdubs is like the definitive version for me. It is perfect. It's another quintessential Robert love song, and I could get into all the Beatles connections too. That's why I like it too, because it's like the crossover, like the Beatles and Zeppelin, my two favorite bands. And in the movie, they have his fantasy sequence during that, which makes a lot of sense. But like, it was so bad. As someone who's obsessed with fantasy and Lord of the Rings, just like him, and like all like the Celtic mythology and Arthurian legends, it could have been so good. Like, the thing is like, it's just enough fan service for Robert Girls. But it could have been so much better. Especially because, like, he loves fantasy and he's obsessed with it, and Celtic mythology, Arthurian legend, Tolkien, all the stuff that I'm obsessed with too, so that's why I take it personally. It's just could have been so much better. Like, you know, it's got the bare minimum of like Robert Girl fan service, what you want from like a Robert Plant fantasy sequence. That's Robert Girls want. It's just like, he's in white, he's got the beautiful hair, he's on the horse, and he's got the sword, he's heading to the castle. It's just like perfect, but the execution is awful, so it just makes me so frustrated when I see it. And just in general, people coming out, the song remains the same, particularly girls, probably came out, the song remains the same, being Robert Girls, because that's oftentimes your first exposure to seeing the band, and oftentimes you get the feels when you see him, but a lot of people got the feels when they see him, so it's kind of normal. But like, yeah, the dude cannot sword fight to save his life. It is so hilarious in the sequence because he's trying to like sword fight, be the noble paladin knight, you know, go to the castle, save everybody. Well, he was just saving a princess, but in the first cuts it's a little bit different. I like that one better. Just look it up. Anyways, he can't sword fight, and it just frustrates me. And you have to see it. Have you seen it? Did you see it? Oh, you didn't see it? Oh my god, look it up. You have to look it up. It is hilarious. Please do. It's so funny. He cannot sword fight to save his life. It's a pet peeve of mine. But yeah. Led 2, baby. Amazing. Amazing album. 10/10.